Hi, welcome to St Joseph's virtual sixth form open evening. My name is Miss Williams and I'm Head of Geography, and thank you so much for taking the time to click through and learn a little bit more about our subject at A-level. In Year 12 and Year 13, you will have two teachers, Mrs Weinberg and myself. We are both specialists in the subjects that we'll be teaching you. So we've split the course in half. Because it will contain both human and physical components to it. So I will be teaching you the human geography, and Mrs. Weinberg will be teaching the physical geography. Your course is really clearly split into 2 years. So in the first year, you will be learning about tectonic processes and hazards, as well as different landscape systems, including coastal landscapes and change. So to briefly talk you through those, tectonic processes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and secondary hazards such as tsunamis represent such a significant risk in many places across the planet, particularly where active tectonic plate boundaries interact with areas of high population density. Your learning and your topic will really focus on kind of not just the physicality of how and why these hazards occur, but also their interaction of physical systems and how vulnerable populations can be based on their levels of income. The second topic that you would do with physical geography is coastal landscapes. You might already know from GCSE that these can develop and change due to the interaction of winds and waves and currents, as well as the contribution of kind of offshore sources of sediment. What you look at in a lot more detail in AS level is how the flows of energy and variations in sediment budget can actually lead to really significant and distinctive locations along our coast. For human geography in Year 12, we look at globalization and shaping places option called diverse places. So globalization and global interdependence it's really the main crux of what you learn. Essentially, multiple different countries across our planet are intrinsically linked. And with globalization, we look at how that has happened, what has facilitated it, and what threats it then poses. And we compare and contrast lots of different kind of countryscapes. And we look at how and why they would respond differently to, say, improvements in telecommunications or shifts in global patterns of production. Diverse places, which is part of the shaping places option, actually takes that and looks at, say, globalization as a, global scale. It actually shows you the exact impact on more local places in the UK. And actually we focus on, one of the things we look at is how decentralization and deindustrialization can impact, say, a coastal town, and what kind of knock-on effects that could have. So you'll find actually, both in AS and in A2, that each of the topics that you study are really, really well linked together and they kind of bounce off one another. In A2, you look at physical systems and sustainability, so the water cycle and water insecurity, the carbon cycle and energy security, and then over on my human side, you've got superpowers, which is a little bit more to do with geopolitics, which is particularly interesting at the moment. I don't know if any of you are following any of the kind of American election, but we do begin to focus on that in superpowers. And then our option for global development is actually health, human rights and intervention, which typically is something that most people find quite interesting when we start teaching that in A2. So in terms of our course content, I've kind of mentioned this already, but geography is a totally unique subject because it looks at both the physical structure of the planet as well as the social structure. And the interplay between the two can create incredibly dynamic and diverse landscapes of change. And that's what we try to show you across these 2 years that you've spent with us. In terms of how this is examined, you will sit 3 exam papers at the end of A2. Paper 1 will be all of the physical content that I've gone through, both across Year 12 and Year 13. So it is a synoptic paper, it looks at everything. Paper 2 would be your human content. And then something I haven't spoken about yet, paper 3. If you are already doing Edexcel B or OCR B, you might have practiced or you might have sat a paper 3 that is very similar to this. It is a well, it's entirely synoptic, so it takes into account year 12 and year 13, but you are given a resource bank, so a resource booklet with lots and lots of information. And the idea is it draws across from both human and physical, gets you to think about the content of both sort of halves of our course, and draw them together and actually reflect on the resources that you're given and answer questions based on that. The final way that you're examined is actually a piece of coursework. So your coursework is 20% of your whole qualification. We will take you away hopefully in year 12, and your options will be either to do a coastal study or a study linked to diverse places. It's typically a 4-day trip. It is mandatory because you will have to produce a piece of coursework based on exactly what you do, how you do it, why you would do it, and then sort of presenting your data about what you find. In terms of course requirements, we would like for you to get a minimum level 6 in both GCSE Geography and GCSE English Language. The reason why we've kind of combined with English Language here is because there's a huge essay component to geography. We go into a lot more detail in how systems work and how there's causality to it, and we need you to be able to write really, really well. In terms of your teaching, with changes to do with COVID, there have been some changes. We can't take you out quite as much as we normally would, but we will still try. You can see here that there's a combination between sort of field study as well as in-class study. We try and teach you and get you to think back to when you've learned before some like geographical skills. So it's sort of a fusion of everything. In terms of your resources, there are 2 required purchases. They are your textbooks for year 1 and year 2 of the A-level, which are over on the top left. And then we've got some suggestions. So we found that Hodder Education, they have probably the better revision guides, and these follow you through the whole 2-year course. And then sort of as an additional reading, there are multiple other books that aren't just sort of textbooks. So Prisoners of Geography is one that I've kind of currently been recommending, and we use in human geography anyway across both years. But we do have a pretty robust kind of library between myself and Mrs. Weinberg of books that can be borrowed and read and returned. But it's just about getting you thinking and getting you reading, because the more that you read, the better your writing becomes, and the more you can explain yourself as well. One of the things that I always get asked by students, not just in sixth form, but kind of across the board, is what skills will I get from studying geography, and why should I study geography? So to tackle that first one, in terms of your skill base, geography will help you develop your communication and teamwork skills, as you'll often work on group projects. You'll also develop your research and analysis skills, including IT and fieldwork, which means you'll be able to collect and look for patterns in data. Employers love the mix of technical and social skills people get from studying geography, which they see as very transferable, useful to a wide range of jobs. What careers can I do with geography? So the Royal Geographical Society state that geography graduates have some of the highest rates of graduate employment. It's great for any kind of career that involves environment planning or collecting, interpreting data. Popular careers for people with geography qualifications include town or transport planning, surveying, conservation, sustainability, waste and water management, environmental planning, tourism and weather forecasting. Additionally, the army, police, government roles, research organisations, law and businesses, they love the practical research skills that geographers develop. So as geographers learn about human population development, geography can be useful in jobs in charity and also international relations. It really is something that if you do take it to A-level and then even beyond, your sort of window of opportunity afterwards is quite significant. So what subjects go well with geography? Geography will support the study of sciences, especially health and social sciences like biology, sociology and psychology. And also, geography A-level is seen as a facilitating subject, which means that it can be useful for a whole range of university courses and will help you keep your options open. So by facilitating subject, that means that even if you don't choose to take it through to university level, the fact that you have sat it at A level shows that you have sort of a significant skill base that would be appropriate for most other university level subjects. So rather than me continue to talk at you, I have two of our students who are currently in year 13 to say a few words.
Hi, my name is Aliyah. I study A-level geography at St. Joseph's.
Hi, my name is Fraz. I study A-level geography at St. Joseph's.
One reason why I picked A-level geography is because I really enjoyed it at GCSE and I wanted to continue it further. Throughout year 12, we learned about stuff like globalization, which I really enjoyed.
In geography A-levels, we have two segments, that would be physical and human. In year 12, for physical, we studied tectonics and coasts, and for human, we studied geography and diverse places. Out of all of them, I'd probably say I enjoyed most tectonics, and now moving into year 13, we've moved on to superpowers, which is also another topic of geography I'm really sucked into right now. I hope you do as well.
I enjoyed taking geography and I would like to continue to do that at uni, mainly human geography because that's what I mainly enjoy.
Likewise, geography also is encompassed into my A-levels and what I want to do in uni, so both of us, I hope you enjoy geography A-levels as well.
Thank you so much for listening to me and for listening to them. I hope you have a good virtual open evening and you consider St. Joseph's